Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm Sandra Tapman, the Executive Director of the Athenaeum, and I am delighted to welcome so many of you, onlookers, sponsors, participants, all in this wonderful mix this evening. It's fabulous. The energy in the room is just wonderful. So this is the award ceremony, basically, the award presentation, as Bruce has so kindly put it. This whole effort has been masterfully managed by Bruce Laverty and Michael Seneca, who are standing at the door if you didn't get to see them. Following the awards presentation, you will be allowed into the exhibition space downstairs. I know that some of you are waiting with bated breath. In fact, we had to turn people away today who wanted to go in there, but after the presentations, then the doors will open and you will get to see the fruit of all this labor, this international labor. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Lee Carson Shirk, the president of the board of the Athenaeum.
Thank you, Sandra. During its bicentennial year, the Athenaeum of Philadelphia has spent much time and effort looking backwards over 2 centuries, celebrating how far this organization has come since its humble beginnings in 1814. And as Abraham Lincoln said at Gettysburg, it is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But anniversaries are also fitting and proper occasions to look forward. In April 2014, we called on the architects of the world, both student and professional, to imagine an Athenaeum at the midpoint of the 21st century. We challenged them to imagine an organization that in its building, its collections, and its program embraces new technologies while honoring centuries-old principles and mandates. This conceptual or ideas competition presented some practical and philosophical challenges for the Competition Advisory Committee and managers. On the practical side, how could we ask architects to design a new Athenaeum building on our own narrow slice of Philadelphia real estate that incorporated John Notman's National Historic Landmark building of 1847, if, for the purposes of this competition, we left this wonderful building on the site? We would severely restrict the talents and imaginations of the architects. They could only build above, behind, or below the current structure. On the philosophical side, few organizations are so closely and firmly identified with their building. In fact, the public at large, and I dare say most Athenaeum members, cannot imagine the institution apart from its Italianate home. So, for the purposes of this competition only, we got rid of the building we're meeting in tonight. Now, none of us on the committee had the heart to destroy, even hypothetically, this magnificent structure, and so the fictional premise of the Looking Forward competition was born. In the year 2050, after 3 years of careful dismantling, moving, and painstaking reassembling and restoring, the Notman building has finally arrived at its new location in Fairmount Park, where it will serve as the headquarters of the newly formed Philadelphia chapter of Friends of Brownstone. Philadelphia FOBS apparently made the Athenaeum Board of Directors an offer so generous they could not refuse. This silly fiction accomplished 2 great things in our bicentennial year. First, it provided a tabula rasa for designers in their efforts to consider an Athenaeum of the future, giving them the same physical boundaries as their 19th century predecessors, but freeing their imaginations in every other aspect. Never in our history have so many architectural talents from so far and wide been thinking about our institution. 139 participants from 17 countries, 15 states, and 10 schools. Second, and more importantly, it gives us all a unique opportunity to consider what the Athenaeum is and does apart from its building, whether historic or futuristic. It reminds us of the key role that this institution has in the cultural life of Philadelphia and the international significance of its architecture and design collections that even today in 2014, still wrapped in this beautiful palazzo, our organization is a leader in 21st century technology that disseminates useful knowledge. So as the Athenaeum begins its third century, tonight marks a number of firsts for us. Though certainly not the first architectural competition, this is the first conceptual architectural competition sponsored by the Athenaeum. This is the first Athenaeum exhibition to feature all born digital materials. This is the first Athenaeum exhibition to feature images displayed on a high-definition monitor. This is the very first Athenaeum program to be webcast live as we speak. This is the first time the Athenaeum has commissioned the production of architectural models. This is the first time 3D printed models have been featured in an Athenaeum exhibition. So join me tonight in celebrating the Athenaeum's past by squarely looking forward to its future. The drawings, models, and digital images in the exhibition that opens tonight in the Haas Gallery downstairs show the results of a challenge to the architects around the world, and a challenge to our own institution to envision an Athenaeum in the not-so-distant future, a generation from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shirk. At this juncture, you may be asking yourself, whose idea was this anyway? Looking Forward was the brainchild of my colleague and good friend Mike Seneca, director of the Athenaeum's Regional Digital Imaging Center. You there, Mike? Okay. Late one afternoon, just about a year ago, I was sitting in this very room assisting some researchers when Mike came bounding up the grand stair. Now, those of you who know Mike know that Mike never walks anywhere. Mike bounds. He came through those doors and he said to me that he had just been snagged by the Athenaeum Bicentennial Committee, who were holding a planning meeting downstairs in our boardroom. They pulled him into the meeting for about 10 minutes, reviewed with him the planned celebratory programs and exhibitions for 2014, and asked him for a whiz-bang final exhibition and program. The proverbial light bulb went on over Mike's head that day, and he said that since the other events all look backward, we needed an event that looked forward. He then suggested that we host an architectural competition for a future Athenaeum. To his great surprise and greater trepidation, the committee wholeheartedly approved this suggestion. So, as he came through those doors and he told me of his brief but pithy meeting with the Bicentennial Committee, he was still out of breath. He said to me, "Well, now what do we do?" Mike generally keeps low profile here at the Athenaeum, and because he rarely speaks publicly, his critical contributions to this organization often go unnoticed. This is a major oversight. There is no Athenaeum staff member, myself included, who is as hardworking as he is. He is that extremely rare breed who is both remarkably organized and superlatively creative. The Looking Forward project would not have been conceived without Mike and could not have been executed without Mike's hard work. It has been a joy for me to work beside him on this project, as indeed it has been a pleasure to work with him for the last 15 years. Well done, my friend. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Dr. Sandra Tatman, the executive director here, who, despite her early misgivings about this project, permitted Mike and me to plan and accomplish something that the Athenaeum had never attempted before, and making it a success hailed by all. We owe a great debt to our Looking Forward committee, who were a steadfast source of help, advice, and enthusiasm, particularly in the early days of this project when the program and budget were formulated. The committee was composed of representatives of our board, staff, and members, and they include, and I'll ask them to stand this evening, Penny Hunt, Michael Lane, Eileen McGee, Hyman Myers, Mariah Thompson, and Trina Vaux. Thank you so much. Two other Athenaeum members who were particularly helpful providing us with invaluable and practical advice in the planning phase of Looking Forward are Charles Burnett, the former dean of the School of Architecture at the University of Texas. Chuck? And Paul Hirshhorn, the former dean of the School of Architecture at Drexel University. We thank them for their assistance. Lee Carson Shirk, the president of the Athenaeum, deserves special recognition for her early and ardent support of Looking Forward. Mrs. Shirk has been exceptionally generous with her time, her substance, her wisdom, and her encouragement, and for that we are most grateful. Among the many rewarding experiences of the past year is the remarkable response that we have received from our sponsors. AIA Philadelphia came on board as our first sponsor, and indeed the first public announcement of this competition came at AIA's 2014 induction of officers right here in this room. The Athenaeum has a relationship with the AIA that dates back to 1871, when the chapter's first offices were on our third floor. And the Athenaeum has been the home to the AIA archives since 1988. We'd particularly like to thank the former executive director, John Claypool, and his wonderful successor, Rebecca Johnson. We are pleased to recognize the support of Commercial Real Estate Women, CREW Philadelphia, and their president, Rebecca Udell. The current president, Rebecca, was introduced to me by the past president. You were past president, Terry? Yes, once removed. Terry Johnson. And she said, "Oh, you really should have a cup of coffee with Rebecca and me at a local Starbucks." And not only at that brief coffee meeting did Rebecca quickly see to our suggestion of CREW's sponsorship, but before I got back to the office that day from that coffee meeting, Terry's own firm, Bedford Cost Segregation, had made a contribution as a sponsor as well. So it was a profitable cup of coffee. Thank you, Starbucks. And thank you, Terry and Rebecca. We're also pleased for the support of Freeman's Auction House, and Sam Freeman and Tara Thune Davis are here tonight. Over there. I feel a little bit like Ed Sullivan in the audience pointing out the celebrities. We also have Keyston Hood to thank, and representing them this evening are Tom Normile, Dean Dukakis, and Fred Baumert. Now, Keyston Hood have been longtime supporters of the Athenaeum, both fiscally and physically. The fact that this 168-year-old building is still standing is due in no small fact to their hard work. And our friends there, who have never hesitated to support our building, our real building, came through for us once again when we asked for their support with a hypothetical building. Likewise, we sincerely appreciate the sponsorship of O'Donnell and Nacarado, and Mike Miller is here tonight representing them, and the operating support of the Philadelphia Cultural Fund. I also don't want to forget, since actually I'm an officer of the organization, the Philadelphia chapter of the Society of Architectural Historians, which was founded in this room 50 years ago this year. So it's a great year for anniversaries. Thank you, SAH Philadelphia. The project was tremendously advanced by the reputation, generosity, and expertise and the really, really hard work of our jurors, who in 7 days reviewed 176 drawings, 88 project assumptions, and 88 project statements before meeting with one another in this room on November 4th to select the winners. And our jurors were selected. They included Michelle Delk from the Snowetta firm in New York. Snowetta is the firm that got the competition to design the new library at Alexandria, Egypt in the year 2000. Michelle is currently working on a new landscape plan for Temple University and for the Presidio in San Francisco. Roger Moss, who was the executive director emeritus of the Athenaeum, was director here for 40 years and certainly knows the institution inside and out. Laurie Olden of the Olden Studio, I'll embarrass you a little bit later, Laurie. Ford Petrus, the head of the Architecture, Design, and Engineering Division at the Library of Congress, and Billy Chen of Todd Williams Billy Chen Architects. We were particularly pleased to have Billy join us because she had personal experience with dealing with a classical and well-loved institution that had to find a new home. And so her insight was particularly valuable. I'd like to make a mention of some of our staff. Mike and I are blessed with two fantastic colleagues who complete our exhibition team. The four of us all have other work that overlap on a daily basis. But the phrase team spirit is trite, but it never is more clearly displayed as when we are preparing an exhibition with a deadline approaching, and this project is no exception. And so I want to give a personal thanks to Jim Carroll, our imaging specialist over there, and Denise Fox, who is our conservator, but tonight she's running our PowerPoint, so a multitasker. They were assisted as well by interns Samantha Daniels, Charlie Hirsch, Christine Rambo, and the IT was conducted by Walt Rice, who mounted all of those digital drawings for the jury to take a look at. Finally, I want to thank the members of the Athenaeum of Philadelphia, who have sustained and grown this fine institution for 2 centuries and placed it on a firm foundation for the 3rd. And on a personal note, I'd like to thank our membership, who allayed my early fears about this project. In the past year, not a single person has come up to me to say, "So, I hear you want to tear down the Athenaeum building." No one said that. And the last and most important thank you is for those people who alleviated the greatest single fear that the managers and the competition committee had about looking forward, that no one would submit. Thanks so much to our 139 competitors who submitted 88 entries from 17 countries and 10 states. And we have a lot of the competitors here tonight. If you're a competitor, stand up and let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you so much. It will be generations before we can estimate exactly what you have done for this institution. It's my pleasure now to introduce Laurie Olden, who was in many ways the captain of our jurors. This has been a busy year for Laurie as well, and he very graciously accepted when Mike and I trotted over to his office last spring, and he said, "Sure, I'll do it." And very, very simple to work with, and at a time when you have many other things. If you have had an opportunity to walk through Dilworth Park or go ice skating on that new Rothman rink, you can thank Laurie tonight yourself. And that's just one of the many projects that could have been a wonderful excuse for him to say, "No, I don't have time for this silly project." But we very much treasure his contribution, and it's my pleasure to introduce him to talk about the competition. Thank you, Laurie.
Well, thank you very much. It's really quite wonderful to be asked to talk and to see all of you. And The odd thing is I'm going to talk about competitions sort of more in general in some ways. So architects are builders and dreamers, and architects love to work. Architects are also competitors, whether they want to be or not. They compete all the time in order to have something to work on, in order to get something built. And architects are trained to compete the way racehorses are trained to run. It's a fact. As students, they compete for scholarships, for prizes, for traveling awards. They compete for positions in firms. They compete for contracts. Just showing up for an interview is almost inevitably competing with someone else. Some competitions are grand with high stakes and open with spectacular results like that for the Sydney Opera House and the St. Louis Arch. Some are quieter with only a few invited and pre-selected competitors like those for the J. Paul Getty Foundation in Los Angeles or the recent Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia. Many competitions are controversial and they cause a stir that lasts for years because they produce a result that is disdained by many and applauded by others, such as the Vietnam Memorial or the World War II Memorial. Some competitions are famous not only for winning the built results, but also for one or more of the proposals that really weren't selected and that are judged later to have been not only meritorious, but far more interesting and superior to what got built. Examples of this have been those for the Parc La Villette in Paris and the Chicago Tribune Tower. Now, open competitions for public, civic, and major corporate projects have been common in Northern Europe and for most of the past century, and some architects have made a career out of winning them consistently, no one more so than Alvar Aalto. Other prominent designers like Elio Saarinen and Gunnar Asplund, or more recently Richard Rogers, Renzo Piano, and Rem Koolhaas, have built careers upon a significant list of successful competitions. For decades, competition entries have been published and studied by practitioners, academic scholars, and students in part to find out what is going on at a particular moment in the world of ideas, technology, and the presentation techniques, and what noted designers that they admire would have done. Competitions also have been employed to find fresh talent, to give the young and unknown a chance to design significant projects, to parks, bridges, buildings, airports, monuments, even cities, as in the case of Canberra and Brasilia. It's difficult to conceive what Manhattan and New York would be like today if Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux had not won the competition for Central Park, or what Piazza Navona would feel like if Bernini hadn't won the Papal Commission for the Four Rivers Fountain. Competitions are often great fun, and they require enormous energy and effort on the part of the competitors, who are matching their wits and trying out their skills against their colleagues, their rivals, and their elders. Commonly, one doesn't know whom one is really competing against. Thus, it's really you're competing against everyone, the entire field in one's imagination. Like competitive athletics, there is an exhilaration that often leaves one tired but kind of happy, but for a time at least, until the winners are announced. And as with marathons, many of those who don't win still feel good to have run the race and to have finished and are proud to have their work in a subsequent exhibition. What's not really well understood by the general public is that many of the non-winners spend considerable time studying both the winning schemes and a number of others that interest or surprise and puzzle them. I can speak from experience and authority about such things. While still a student in the late 1950s, I worked on several national design competition entries with faculty members. One for the Boston City Hall. Everybody I know who's alive today my age was in the Boston City Hall competition. And there's another one for the first FDR Memorial in Washington, D.C. I worked on two schemes for that, one of which actually became one of the four finalists before the entire competition blew up in a tempest in Congress and was canceled. Later, I won several fellowships and the Rome Prize, but also, as a professional, I've won a number of national and international competitions. And some have been built, such as the Wexner Center in Columbus and the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe, both of which I did with Peter Eisenman. And recently with Kieran Timberlake, the new United States Embassy in London is under construction. But a number of our winning schemes have absolutely not been built. For me and for some of my colleagues, many of the unpremiated and unbuilt schemes are, to us, as they're more interesting than some of those that did win. Most of my friends consider Rem Koolhaas' scheme for La Villette far more interesting and influential than Bernard Tschumy's winning scheme. It's had more influence on students and designers than the one that won. Idea competitions, that expressly acknowledge that they won't lead to a real project, are intended to provoke. They're intended to provide a forum for invention, for speculation, for thought and reflection on a particular subject. They intend to elicit a range of endeavor and of talent, of conjecture, of what if. They are meant to stimulate a community of designers and often the broader society. The idea competition for the redesign of Columbus Circle in New York, sponsored by the Municipal Arts Society, led eventually to the city actually doing something about the mess it was in and having it redesigned, just as an earlier ideas competition for artists to collaborate with architects led almost directly to the commissioning of a restaurant in Bryant Park, which led to the physical design and its reconstruction. So ideas competitions have a strange other second life. The building we're in tonight is the result of a competition won by John Notman. It was a solid winner, fresh, bold, and advanced for its time in Philadelphia. As everyone who enters and climbs the stair to the Piano Nobile finds, this is a true winner with its stunning proportions and its handsome yet restrained detail. Well, at the time, it was cutting edge, and even today we conclude that the jury knew what it was doing. Well, tonight's competition, this competition, for a replacement of Notman's building had at least two goals. One was to shine a light on the Athenaeum and its accomplishments, its presence, its contribution to the physical, mental, and artistic well-being of the city and its citizens, and the other has been to stimulate the architectural community, students and practitioners alike, and to encourage them to speculate upon the future of libraries and their potential nature and the contribution to the community, in particular here in Philadelphia, in such a place as this address on Washington Square. The competitors could do many things, suspend any number of rules, and draw upon fictive fortunes for their proposals. Some are actually outrageous. Some are quite silly. Some are disheartening or even chilling, and some are strangely ordinary. It's a spectrum. But others are truly lighthearted, they're bold, and they're inspiring. There has been produced a genuine variety of thought and feeling, of imagination and practicality. If the future really is only an extension of the present, but with a number of things changed in kind or emphasis, a number of these schemes tell us something of what the future will be. There's a range of suggestions regarding the nature, the demise, the continuity, and the condition of books, with a significant number of the competitors proposing a range of digital and virtual archives that are accessed and presented in a variety of ways, privately and individually. And I left my last page of notes to your good news somewhere else, so I will, this is why I said to Bruce, I said, you always have two sets just in case. My God, it's a short page, it's okay. The good news is we're almost done. Thank you, Bruce. These guys are really amazing, aren't they? So, they really are. We did not rehearse that, but here we go. So where I was saying that they proposed this wide range of things, that private and individual, communally or publicly, from headsets to entire wall displays indoors and out. We find structural gymnastics and restrained subtleties, quiet sanctums and grand civic overtures. Habits of recent years in the moment of this time we're living in are very much present. Architecture is collage, a mashup of parts in programmatic spaces that are piled together, arranged upon a scaffolding of some sort, whether it's structural or circulatory, the things of our moment that we're doing. We find shapy shapes, bold forms that suggestively call attention to themselves without concern for their neighbors, and anything that might be termed the architectural or urban equivalent of the social contract. We also find modesty, and we find confidence within traditional form and future, built quite solidly upon a few carefully selected aspects of past achievement in both architecture and in library science. We find in these competitors questions regarding the relationship of architecture to philosophy or to biology that may not have totally convinced the jury of their success, but that intrigued us nonetheless. In all, it was as it was intended: fun, stimulating, and thought-provoking. One looks for the magic answer to all our problems in one brilliant solution and instead finds elegant bits here, marvelous but incomplete thoughts there, beautiful ideas of form and light or color in one place, and useful, working stuff in another. But no one scheme is quite perfect. Yet in a way, it was very much like real life, and probably very much like the real future. The leadership, the staff, the board of the Athenaeum, like those Philadelphians and visitors who come and examine the projects, will undoubtedly find much food for thought and helpful hints for their endeavors in the future. For the competitors, I am certain we will see portions of this work in a few years' time here and elsewhere, for good ideas have a life of their own. And in this competition, we have presented once more with many ideas, some of which I am certain will turn out to have been very good ideas. Thank you, and have a great time.
Okay, I'm going to present the award, the Student Award for Honorable Mention. The jury said of this submission, "In a future where information is quite literally at our fingertips, the grand nature of this simple entry suggests the power and endless possibilities this may provide. It is both intimidating and rewarding." And the winner is, for her entry, Breaking the Barrier, from the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., Megan Ross. And now I'd like to introduce Mike Miller from O'Donnell and Nacarado, who will present the next winner.
Hi, how's everybody tonight? I'm here to present the third place for the student. The jury called this submission an interesting suggestion that provides people places to gather and to collaborate within close proximity to the physical resources of the Athenaeum, yet it maintains distinct spatial separation. And the winner is Dematerialized Athenaeum, Creating Space to Collaborate, from the Catholic University of America, Emily Curado.
The prize for second place will be presented by Tom Normile of Keystone Hood.
Thank you, Bruce, and wow, what an exciting night. We're so happy to be a part of this. The jury said of this submission, probably the most extremely imaginative suggestion. This entry embeds ever-evolving data as the actual structural system. Ever-evolving data. I think contractors call that a change order, but not that I would know, but this project is inspiring and brave, as I imagine are the visitors who would come here to explore this machine-like structure. And the award goes to Declaration Sanctuary, University of Nicosia, Cyprus. Team members, I need my partner, Dean Dukakis, to help me with some of this. Thalia Andreou, Valeria Galkina, Michael Papas, Kyriakis Nepthomaliou, and Chrysanthos Yakubiv. I understand that they missed their flight, but they managed to get a video over just in time. Is that right, Bruce?
Hello, Philadelphia. We apologize for not having a chance to go all the way to America to join you in this very special moment. We would like to say that it was such an honor taking part of this amazing competition. It was an unforgettable experience. Though it was quite challenging to visualize the future of the institution and look all the way to the future transformations of it. We would also like to thank our tutors, Markela Meniku and Adams Kriantus, for their support. Thank you and the institution of Athenaeum for this amazing opportunity.
The first place student prize will be presented by Terry Johnson of Bedford Cross Segregation.
The jury said of this submission, an intriguing exploration of the integration of public space, information storage, and architecture, engaging and seductive drawings. And the winner is Vienna Technical University, Vienna, Austria, Andras Bernash. Andras couldn't be here with us this evening, but he sends us this greeting.
Hi, I'm Andras, and well, as it looks like, I just won the first place, and I want to say thank you for this great competition, and it was really fun participating in it, and I had really a lot of fun thinking about libraries, about the future of libraries. And it was a great opportunity. And well, when I first saw it, I just had to participate in it. And well, it's cool that it worked out that well. So thank you again. Thank you for doing this competition. And yeah, thank you for the award as well.
Andras did not register until 2 days before the close of registration. And this is the second competition he's won first place in this year. So, oh, that's me. The honorable mention for professional is, the jury said of this submission, an incredibly complete and practical consideration of the function and operation of the future Athenaeum. The terraced indoor seating and the porosity of the structure suggests the value of libraries as social spaces in our communities. And the winner is Athenaeum 2050, Architecture Library open to the city, showcasing the activity of reading. Kyo Sung Hong from K-Sarch Studio in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. Ki-Yu-Son could not be here tonight, but they send their regards and thank yous to the Athenaeum. For the third place of the professional awards, I am pleased to introduce Eric Steinberg of NRI. NRI is the sponsor that worked. Is the sponsor that worked with us on creating the amazing 3D printed models that you'll see downstairs. And it's been a joy to work with Eric and the rest of his staff here on that. Eric.
Thanks, Bruce. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. The jury called this submission one of the few entries that suggested maintaining and celebrating the presence of the physical book by proudly displaying it as an integrated component of the facade. This is not only inspirational, but it also offers the perspective that in the future we may still find motivation in the quality of the physical elements that surround us. And the third place winner is Stay on the Ground, Let Your Mind Rise, Daniel Palotai from Budapest, Hungary.
second place professional winner will be presented by Rebecca Udell, the president of Crew Philadelphia. Rebecca.
Thank you. And as the president of Crew Philadelphia, I have to say it's a pleasure to see so many women represented here in the competition in the architectural industry. The jury said of this submission, this concept successfully presents a place where information has no physical presence, yet it is placed in contrast with our senses of sight, smell, and touch. These qualities of shaping a place may inspire people to engage together, despite a future where we may no longer need to leave our homes to gain access to the informational resources the Athenaeum provides. And the winner is... Out of Touch, an archive for the human hand. Lulu Liquidus, Daniel Martinez, Fox in the Snow Studio, Brooklyn, New York.
And I'll ask our president, Lee Carson Shirk, to come and present the first place professional prize.
I gotta say, this is such an exciting night. I can hardly keep my excitement and enthusiasm for this to myself. It's just been a beautiful night. And I'm really grateful to Mike and to Bruce for arranging this, and for Sandra for supporting it, and for the committee to be so appreciative of all the submissions and this great night. Thank you. This is the first place professional prize. The jury said of this submission, the uniquely Philadelphia quality of this entry is immediately striking. Within the building, the organization of the collection into theoretical works, contrasting practical work, suggests two paths of pursuing knowledge that operate independently with key places of overlap. And the winner is, not Billy Crystal, you know. Philadelphia Grotesque Revisited, Stanev Potts Architects, Philadelphia.
Thus concludes the 2014 Athenaeum Competition Awards, and I invite you all now to go and continue to have refreshments and have a drink, and also the doors to the exhibition gallery are now open so you can see what these wonderful folks have been doing. Thank you so much.